Lisa. I'm about to go lay these quilt blocks out, and I wanted to share with you how I have them organized before I spread them out. I put them in piles based on the color of the center stripe. So this is the green pile, and this is the blue pile, and the purple and the pink, all different shades of pink. I have reds and oranges here together, and then the yellows in a pile. And the reason I did this is so when I spread them out, I can separate the colors, so I don't have all the blues coming together, all of the purples coming together. I can spread them out, some on the work table, and you'll see that in a moment. Now I know I'll have to rearrange them some, because like if I put these two together, even though one is blue and one is green, the second stripe over is yellow. Doing this arbitrary means that I'm going to have to do some moving around. I wouldn't want these two close together either, because those two peach fabrics are exactly the same. So I'll have to do a lot of playing, but this gives you an idea of my starting point. So I've started laying out the quilt on my work table that I used to use when I made window treatments. And what I'm doing now is picking up one from each of those stacks and just going ahead and spreading them out in the arranged design on my table. I keep having to turn them. I have to think about how that arrangement is. It's a chevron shape, but then it creates these white diamonds where I'll do some quilting. I've got some more there to go on the other side of the table. That table is 5 feet by 12 feet, so I'm used to working on one side, doing some stuff, and then walking all the way around to do the other side. I'll go over here and finish laying these out. And this is just, as I say, somewhat random, other than spreading out the colors so I don't have two greens together, two blues together. There's no particular arrangement at this point. But now that they're laid out, then I can start to look at them and see where I may have too much yellow together. I have two of the same fabrics together, just accidentally. There was a lot of blue in one place, or the same kind of value of blue in one place, so I'm switching those around a little bit. Got a little bit lighter color. And then somewhere I felt like I just had a little too much dark tone in one spot, so moving that around. Ignore any of the junk you see in the background. Since I don't use this as a work area anymore, it doesn't stay particularly tidy, but the table is still really useful for things like this. And it takes me a while to keep looking at these. So after about 3 different or 4 different trips down here to the basement to look at this and move things around, I've pretty much settled on where the squares go. And I used a technique that I used to use in watercolor quilting. Watercolor quilting is where you have 2-inch squares and you're trying to blend the colors, so you get a gradual variation of colors from light to dark, or dark to light over the course of a pattern. And one of the ways you make sure you have everything right is you squint. When you're looking at your design on your design wall, or in this case on my table, I squint. And as if I squint and look at it, it blurs the colors together, and you can quickly see, especially the values, whether you have too much dark or too much light in one place, and if you need to rearrange things. So I've done that, and I've moved things around. Now all this elaborate gesturing you see, I was talking as I was filming this, but the volume was just too low, so I've had to do a voiceover for it. So at this point I have everything laid out the way I want it, and I'm going to be numbering the back of the blocks. Now I'm going to stack them and then carry them upstairs to sew them together. But just to be sure that I don't mess anything up, I'm going to use a fabric marker to put a number on each corner. And so the first row is blocks 1 through 6, and the second row is blocks 7 through 12, and so forth until I get down into the middle, and I think the one I end up numbering on the camera is like number 20 or something. So I will write that number down on each of the blocks, and that way I'll keep them straight when I have them up at my sewing machine. I will probably sew each all the rows together and then bring them back and lay them out one more time to be sure I have everything right before I start sewing the columns. So here's where I would be stacking them, and I'll show you that I'm just going to mark them in the corner of each block, just on the back side, which number that is. So the next time you see this quilt, it will probably be all sewn together and maybe even ready to start quilting. Now, one other thing I want to mention about sewing is that there are a lot of people who sew who are starting to make the masks. There's a shortage, as we know, of the N95 masks that healthcare workers need, and while the ones we sew cannot take the place of those, they are in the we need to provide some kind of barrier solution, and there have been many recommendations to have something fabric that you can use if you don't have access to a mask. So there are lots of videos online for different kinds of masks and different materials. There's all kinds of stuff about this. I've looked at several different ones, and there's no elastic available to me. There's one place in my community that I could buy elastic, and they're out. So I have ordered some. They'll be in this week, and I'll talk about that more in future videos. But if you sew, you can do some quick Google searches on homemade masks, and you can find out lots of information about those. And the last thing I want to share is, this is not exactly a craft project. I did this in PowerPoint, but I created this little sign to thank my drivers who come by the house and deliver packages so that we can stay home more. So I'm expecting something today, some Bath and Body soaps. So I don't have to go out and get things as much if I have these drivers. So I thought I'd just make a quick sign. I tried to make the print really large so they can just glance at it and it doesn't distract too much from their time each day. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well and keeping safe and keeping your distance. Bye.